pretty terrifying. But yeah,
Aye.
so here we go. Welcome to the Hospitality Chat podcast. My name is Mehdi Rahman, and we have our host, Matthew Drummond-Poynter, with me, my co-host, and we're just kind of like taking it back to basics, when you say, which is between the two of us.
Yeah, I know, it's quite the return to our roots.
I know, but it's, even though it's not that much, but still, I think it's kind of cool just to go back a bit. And not only that, we've done our few share projects in OrderPin for a while now, considering we had to make video promos for our social media accounts. And I thought it'd be interesting to see how we would promote food businesses on social media themselves, like the act of doing it in the first place. And the best way is to know what kind of platform would be to say showcase your food businesses in a way. What platform would best suit your content, would you say? And I think a lot of them will be for video-based content. People would use Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, and YouTube. Facebook also hosts the kind of like videos as well, and pictures, as well as text-based content, whereas Twitter does, but then there's like the character limit and whatnot. But when selecting a platform, it's important to select the demographic as well as your target market, as well as different demographics browsing different websites.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of like when you're like deciding what platform your kind of like target demographic is definitely something that I guess I would, if I was a restaurant owner, be considering, because different like demographics use like wildly different like platforms. Let's take the biggest social media one, for example. Let's take Facebook. Their largest demographic is actually quite surprisingly 25 to 34, which is a bit surprising actually, considering that Facebook mostly has a reputation for being used among older chaps. Um, but in that sense, I suppose it kind of like Facebook casts a pretty wide net, so it's kind of like a really safe platform to kind of like go on if you don't know which one to kind of like go for. And I know I've said this before, I'm a broken record. Um, and then
Isn't
there's also
Facebook,
stuff. Sorry.
sorry, isn't Facebook called Meta now?
I think the overall company is called Meta. The site itself might still be called Facebook, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah, and then there's stuff like Twitter's kind of like pretty popular among like millennials, while TikTok is kind of like incredibly popular among teens and young adults. Though TikTok's of course a very kind of unique form of content in terms of that kind of like short form video content, which of course not every restaurant's capable of doing. Um, if you want to like target like I don't know professionals, then you go for LinkedIn. Though I imagine for restaurants that's probably less important, generally speaking.
For the marketing
Um,
and promotion of the restaurant.
yeah. And I guess also kind of like I guess the obvious one when considering what platform to start hosting on would of course be kind of like the popularity of it, right? I mean, don't want to go where someone isn't.
Yeah, I think I the platforms that you'd use more likely would be Instagram, as well. Yeah, Instagram is considered to be like the main kind of platform, but it's extremely competitive as well. Not only that, but I think it has a bigger demographic. A lot of people from I know from the late early 30s to kind of like 40s or something, or 50s, kind of like using Instagram, as well as my generation, like, and as well as younger, like say 20, as well as it's a very big spectrum of kind of different types of audiences that use Instagram. And I think it is a very popular way to use it. I mean, I think I talked about it before in the website and photography episode as well, where I talked about how I market my work. I use Instagram as a way of as a form of a gallery, and I think websites and my website is connected to my social media account, so they can have a way of reaching out to me in different methods. And and not only that, food businesses, the one thing that food businesses would be appreciative of is like the introduction of food photography and videography. But I think that's in case here, apart from say the typical social media accounts, YouTube is fairly more common, more popular. I mean, everyone uses YouTube. It's more like you couldn't imagine a world before YouTube until it was first introduced back in the 2000s.
No, it feels kind of crazy to think about like times before YouTube because I've kind of like grown up with YouTube
Yeah.
most of my life, so it's kind of weird to think of world without it. But yeah, no, I mean YouTube is extremely popular. I mean, I think in terms of like sites visited, it's the second most visited site after Google itself. People visit YouTube more than they visit like Wikipedia and stuff, so it's definitely a really good site to kind of like have a presence on in that fashion. Though, of course, the video format kind of isn't necessarily something that everyone is capable of doing, and I guess that kind of leads neatly into the other thing to consider when you're kind of like choosing which platform to go for in the first place, which is what content are you kind of best suited towards creating and have the ability to do so. Which I think is kind of like very kind of important overall, right? I mean, like you've talked about Instagram for a bit. I'm actually not on Instagram because I'm a venerable dinosaur. But it sounds, from what I've heard, that it's kind of more of an image-based format. Meanwhile, obviously, I've YouTube is video based. TikTok is also kind of like short videos. Twitter's kind of got its like own unique thing going on where it's kind of like very short form content overall is kind of what you're doing, either like very short words, like sentences and such like, or images in general. Which again, just the power of images, right? I mean, they're really good as tools to kind of like just upload, and people can quickly like take a look at them, to give them a like. In that way, it's just a really good way of like engaging with users, particularly in this age of dwindling attention spans. Facebook is also pretty nice because it's kind of got a very generalist approach. You can do like long form content, you can do images, videos, you can kind of like set up links to your own content, long form content on your website, which is usually, by the way, better than actually just having a long post on there, is to have like a short summary and a link. If people see a wall of text, they're likely to be extremely daunted by that and kind of say, okay, I'm not reading that. Meanwhile, a short kind of like hook to kind of like reel them in, and then they'll click on the link to read more about the article. It's just generally a better approach. But yeah, that tangent aside, definitely consider kind of like what content you're best suited towards creating when picking your website. Not website, social media site, because otherwise you'll find that you're trying to commit to a platform that you just don't have the ability to produce for.
I mean, when in terms of like when you say about like different platforms are more focused, like imagery focused, or vision, or like imagery focused or like video focused. I feel like when you look at Instagram, it's actually a hybrid between visual and, in terms of imagery and video based. I think because, like, for example, for Instagram, they added like stuff like called reels, where you can upload like longer based videos or onto the platform, and it'll be under like, for example, for me, like I got like my short film, like my short film for my project, and I kind of post video. I'm trying to right now post my video based projects onto the platform, where it can, show what my kind of the dex being absolutely dexterous with my content and how I can produce my content to everyone. And even like with my pictures alone, like here, for example, I also post like my own pictures. I mean, yeah, Daniel could put like a screenshot over here about it, but
Chill out, page.
yes, yes, I'm kind of like plugging it shamelessly, but I think it's also, I think there's platforms that would has the sense of very being very dexterous with their content. Like you can add imagery and videos into it. I think there's nothing to really more be pressured about. I think a lot more content are having a bit more balance in terms of how they produce their content. It could be all three: text based, images, or videos. I think they could be all three. Like I think with platforms like Facebook as well, in particular, they do offer that kind of mixture of a both and a balance between the both.
Yeah, so I guess when considering kind of like in terms of what content you can produce, preferring kind of like platforms that allow for a variety of content, I guess, are definitely something you're going to want to consider, especially if you're in kind of like the development stages of kind of like your social media marketing, because if you're not quite sure what approach works best for you yet, then choosing a kind of variety platform which will allow you to experiment in that fashion is going to be quite effective for you. On the topic, I guess, of kind of like content and such, like moving away from what to consider when selecting a site. I guess now that we've kind of like got our account set up on the site, it's perfect for our target demographic, and we're kind of like ready to go. What kind of content should we be kind of like uploading? What's kind of effective? We've talked a bit about images. Maybe we could go into that.
I think you have to respond to, like, I think we talked about this. I think when we worked like when we were working in our teams, yeah, in OrderPin, we did talk about keyword research, identifying key trends and topics that are occurring that is pushing the algorithm to the front of many people's posts, I think. And in relation to the restaurant business, and this is still a common trend as well, like a trend that everyone does, whether it's like kicking off now or not, is food pictures and videos, you know, and everyone just like takes a picture of the food and posts on the social media or in the stories. This is a thing now. A lot of people like do that into their stories, you know, post what they're having in like in a restaurant, and like, you know, like the glitz and glamours of a restaurant, like, you know, the say kind of like really high-end feeling kind of dishes that they're serving, they're kind of posting it onto social media. You just see that in the stories a lot. And I think maybe they should like reshare other people customers experiences, as well as, you know, of their restaurants, as well as, you know, like take pictures of their menu items, be like, oh, like kind of visit to our local branch of our restaurant, take a picture of their great menu items with the best kind of like imageries you can. Like, you know, it's better to like hire, if they can hire photographer to take pictures of your menu items, make them look as amazing as they can, and then ask for the pictures to be posted on social media. Like, you know, it's key to have also posting your content on a regular basis to push your profile, your restaurant, into the front of the many people's pages. You know, and be part of the algorithm a bit more effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel you with the kind of like constant content. Because what kind of like once you've established your presence, we've gone through it. We've started our social media page. It's very important that you do keep that content generation constant, as kind of like, first of all, like infrequent content posts or like waiting too long between posts kind of like loses the interest of your users. They might stop like paying attention to your page, unfollow it if they think it's kind of inactive because you haven't uploaded in a while. um, but also just in terms of like how the website works, you mentioned the algorithm, and yes, indeed, a lot of these social media sites specifically have algorithms that kind of like promote pages that produce like more frequent content on a kind of regular basis, kind of because it's like it's good for their users and it's good for them too. Like, constant content generation is just better to incentivize that way. So keeping your content generation constant means that even if you're not right now satisfied with the following your page has got, you're increasing the chance that your page is going to break out in a hit and kind of like get a massive increase in viewership in that way, and a bit of a helping hand from the algorithm.
And not only that as well, like it also is a good way to show your business ethical values when you say, you know, as well as trying to push the algorithm forward as well. I think what you put in it does need to be taken into account. Like what you actually gonna put in. I mean, a lot of social media posts are, you know, like could show like, you know, the business's ethical values itself, you know, like showing that, oh, we do care, you know, we do really care about how we handle our customers and whatnot. It's just a bit like being responsible, would you say?
Yeah, no,
Oh,
exactly. Like you can if you make an ethical like commitment as a company, like veganism or kind of local sourcing, organic farming, all of those kinds of things. Um, you definitely want to shout that from the rooftops of your page if possible, because no one's going to know about your kind of ethical commitments if you don't tell people about it. And social media is an excellent way to kind of get the message out there. You can also kind of like in that way kind of hitch on like tags relating to that subject, like veganism, climate change, those kinds of things. Um, which are increasingly popular tags, a lot of these, as we kind of like become a bit more of a kind of ethically conscious society in terms of like our consumption. So in that way, it kind of like helps get your SEO up. It lets people know that you've made these ethical commitments and can like hook like people who are kind of ethically conscious about those areas in. And yeah, it's just a generally kind of good way to highlight that.
And not only that, one thing is mix it up as well. Mix up your content as well. Like, I feel like doing the same routine over and over again can get so boring. I mean, like, it's like you're almost like being repetitive. And I was like, I'm getting really bored of these guys. Let me just, go away right now. Kind of like that's what you want to just change it up, mix it up a bit. Don't be afraid of trying something new. And I think social media is, with the you being managing social media accounts, you can tend to allow people to be more creative by engaging through different types of content. And not only that as well, try also be engaged with the content, engage with the public, what they produce, like the stories that they produce, or the Instagram posts of what they had from your restaurant. Make sure you respond to them saying, "Oh, thank you very much." Do an active engagement, because it makes the customers feel like, "Oh, they acknowledged me. They actually do acknowledge me," because you do not want your restaurant to be like another faceless entity. Just be like, "Thank you very much, and I hope you come again soon."
No, absolutely. I mean, one of the greatest kind of like strengths of social media is kind of like you, the restaurant, have the ability to kind of like actually talk to the public. You can reply to their comments, you can like their stuff and such like, and just leaving that option on the table and not using it is you're leaving a really potent like tool here. It kind of also kind of like really kind of fosters more of a kind of like community bond in that respect with the restaurant, even if that community is scattered all throughout the internet.
Yeah.
It still kind of like strengthens those ties. And we've been talking in earlier episodes for a while now that kind of like this kind of stronger feeling of community can really kind of help out a restaurant. It kind of like increases customer loyalty, increases revenue, all that good stuff. And yeah, so in that respect, kind of like liking, sharing their content, commenting on it. All of those things kind of like strengthen those ties of community,
Yeah.
make your fan base more loyal, and also kind of like bring a kind of element of almost like down to earth or almost authenticity. You're not like this aloof brand above it all. You're kind of like that. You're kind of like more on their level in that respect. You're willing to engage with them, and speaking of authenticity, actually, you can also like do kind of like these little like pictures of like behind the scenes stuff, of like your staff in the kitchen, food being prepared, that kind of stuff. And this kind of like goes to signal, as I said earlier, your authenticity, which is really nice, particularly for smaller restaurants, right? I think a lot of us kind of have the image of this kind of like really kind of authentic, they are what they say they are image of like small restaurants as opposed to like larger chains. And yeah, showing that and kind of like strengthen that image, increasing like people's loyalty and their desire to kind of go into your restaurant full stop. Other stuff you can do in that respect is kind of like show your staff having fun if you can. Like little behind the scenes stuff for that. People like to go to restaurants that are also like a great place to work, right? No one wants to go to a restaurant where they think it's kind of like a toxic workplace culture, right? And in that
Yeah.
respect, it can really kind of help people's perception of your business.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen, I mean, we all have seen probably an awkward encounter where the customers and the employees have a toxic vibe going on, and no one likes to be in that kind of room. You don't want to be that person in the room and be like, "Oh, come on, man, don't be so harsh on them." It's like you want to have a good time. Remember, like, and when you say about engaging with the public's content on social media, it's like that. It's like it transcends that being hospitable in the restaurant. It also moves beyond the restaurant itself. It moves into the outside forum. It's about you carry that hospitality service into the online forum where I say thank you very much for coming. It's almost no different to when you hand in the bill and say thank you for the customers for being for coming to the restaurant and enjoying their service or whatnot. It speaks the same way in the online space. And I think that's a way of saying. I think that's a way to call it. It transcends the restaurant itself, but beyond it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess on the topic of kind of engaging with content, going back to the subject of engaging with reviews, a topic that we've definitely covered quite a lot, but I think it is important to kind of reinforce good review engagement. Social media is marketing is of course an excellent opportunity to kind of engage with reviews. Like a lot of lively sites, Facebook and such like, have the ability to kind of like leave reviews, and you can like leave your replies to it and such like.
Yeah,
And these can be an excellent opportunity, first of all, to engage in the positive reviews, say how grateful you are, etc., which makes you kind of like,
yeah.
look a bit humble, grateful, all good images to have, really. I don't think any restaurant's going to want to appear the other way around on that one.
Just
And
don't
with your
just yeah. I was about to. I was just making it. Sorry, carry. I'm so sorry.
no, it's all good. And yeah, I guess also you show it's also a good opportunity to respond to like negative reviews and like learn from them, reassure them that you're kind of like fixing an issue if you can. Um, and yeah, just showing in that respect that you're again kind of like humble, you're willing to learn. Um, again, just all good things I think that really kind of like can signal to your consumers that you really care about their dining experience, which again is going to make them more likely to like and trust your restaurant. And yeah, it's just all around good.
Yeah, I was just about to say, sorry before I interrupted really bad. I'm so sorry about that. But it was just like, do not be that person who answers so horribly into like a to the customers' reviews, because we seen too many. I'm telling you, I know we talked about this again like before, but we seen too many that were really bad. Like I mean, we were like watching like we were reading a bunch of different restaurant reviews, man. Like as we were as we were like curious. Like, like when we talk about reviews, I thought, nah, it has to be those one or few things. But we've seen different restaurant owners have really bad takes on like, you know, owners or managers saying really bad, like really respond horribly to the customers' reviews. And I'm thinking, I mean, yeah, it's a bit like, I don't know. It's really, I mean, you've seen the Matthew, how bad it can get. I
Oh
mean,
yeah, no, it just makes you really uncomfortable when you see it. I'm usually at least twice as likely to avoid a restaurant if I kind of see that, because then you think, what's it gonna be like in there?
yeah, because it's like it gives like an idea of what the services could be. I don't know. It's really for a customer to be very terrifying to be like, oh, I'm not going into that restaurant. And they got that horrible review that they did, like, like the owner eviscerated the customer in a verbal manner, and it's like, no, I'm not. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm just gonna go the other way around, and it kills your business if you do that. I think I kind of emphasize that a lot, where you do not want your business to be perceived in the wrong way, considering how volatile and how exposing the digital society that we're living in really is. It's like one bad, if you really took an experience in a very bad way, you could lose a lot of things. And I think that's what we need to take into account.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I guess if I was to offer a kind of framework for our viewers as to how to respond to negative reviews, I guess I'd take about a three-step approach. The first step in this one would be kind of like, above all, stay calm and definitely avoid overreacting. Maybe take like about a few minutes or so to kind of just like uh, regather yourself and make sure that whatever you say next, you're not going to be kind of like doing it in anger, because that's just going to lead to like acting out, um, which will then bring pretty bad PR to your restaurant. And yeah, you just never make decisions when you're not thinking straight. The second one would be obviously to kind of look into now the source of the complaint. If they kind of like said their food was too cold, like I asked the chefs like how long they fired it off for, did anyone test it, those kinds of things, and then you can kind of like build a picture of kind of what went wrong here, if anything did go wrong, and then you can kind of like start putting steps in place as to how to fix it. Like in this particular example, I guess make sure you test the food to make sure it's warm before it goes out. And then finally, now that you have an idea of the situation and you've potentially even implemented a solution, now it's the time you can respond. make sure you kind of like tell them about your sympathies for their negative experience. You always want to try and be sympathetic to their predicament if possible. Generally speaking, angry customers respond positively to sympathy overall, and it's most likely to kind of discharge the situation. Um, then let them know that you kind of like fix the problem, or if you're working on fixing it. Either of those are fine. Obviously it's best to go in with a fixed problem, but even just letting them know you're fixing it is a sign that you kind of like care about it. And communicate like how you're fixing it if possible, even sometimes, because giving them specific details is an extra reassurance that you are definitely doing something about it. Finally, if you feel like it, you can finish things off by kind of like offering like some kind of incentive to return, like a voucher or a refund or a free meal next time they come back. Just kind of like a good show of like good faith and sincerity and appreciation for their feedback. Because again, that's kind of like what you want to be above all kind of like doing in your responses to reviews, showing like appreciation, humility, and receptiveness.
I mean, yeah, I mean, what you say, like you're just like if by being distressed here, it is giving poison to the brand in a sense. And I think not only that, and in contrast to the negative, like the don'ts here, also the best way is try be when you engage with your customers and in an online space here, don't be afraid to be very humorous. I think bit adding little quips here and there, not at the point where it makes fun of them. It's more like, oh, just you're kind of like, you're not someone who takes themselves seriously. You don't want your restaurant to be like almost like a stone cold faceless corporation. You want it to be a service that you provide for the community, a hospitality service for the community. I mean, that's what I think. Places you see, I mean, we all seen Wendy's, man. Wendy's do like the most insane tweets that we ever seen. Like, I think maybe Daniel could put up a couple of them just on the screen, like, just to see. It's quite funny. I mean, everyone literally, and the novelty of that is people want to go to Wendy's, and not only that, when they post on the social media, they wanted to get roasted by Wendy's, and they're just like, and then they get where they're coming. And KFC does the same thing at times as well. So I think, and other restaurant brands as well, like high end. I mean, very upfront restaurant brands do the same thing. I think you wanted to, like you say about before, about community. You want to build that community. So whilst you want to be very hospitable and be grateful as well, there's nothing wrong being very closer to them by engaging with them in a more friendly manner.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Let your hair down with a lot of like your social media posting. By all means, maintain an element of professionalism. But people come to social media for fun to pass the time, and so above all, you should be kind of like giving them what they want in that respect, right? I mean, to use the example of Wendy's, of course, it's rather amusing to see their kind of like sassy like remarks and like takedowns and like the little like tweet wars that go on between the different brands where they're all taking the piss out of each other. Um, and there's also like other examples of kind of like how like brands do that to kind of like carve like a unique like image and kind of like a really memorable personality. Um, let's say Innocent, actually, this movie company. I just couldn't believe I forgot about that one. They like made like a recent they like made an advert for like a tie-in with like Wasabi UK. Maybe Daniel can like throw it up around there. Where they kind of like did this thing where they like, tweeted about saving 33%. It's like, oh, I'm making the ad for it, and then they cropped a third they just cropped a third off the smoothie and said, I think we nailed it. Just like, little fun self-deprecating stuff like that. All of that kind of stuff just give your restaurant like a memorable personality, and don't be afraid necessarily to kind of like do things that would be seen as kind of a faux pas in traditional marketing, because social media marketing is a lot more personable, and that means kind of acting more like people rather than like an advertising corporation.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to. I think the best way to end off this episode, in a sense, is don't be afraid to let loose a bit at times, in terms of like, whilst retaining your professionalism, just don't be incredibly uptight where you feel so rigid. Let loose and be more flexible and be more understanding and caring. Be part of the community. Don't be isolating yourself as like just a simple another restaurant here. Make yourself different to other people. Define yourself as someone you want to, like, your qualities, your values. Strive for something better. So let loose at times. There's nothing wrong with trying something new. Be open.
Absolutely, yeah, couldn't agree more. If our viewers are looking for any further tips, by the way, as to like how to improve their like social media marketing, if you head over to orderpin.co.uk/blogs, we have a number of like really nice blogs that kind of like where they list like various short articles with tips to how to improve your social media presence overall. That I think you could find an excellent resource.
And not only that as well, I would recommend also to watch our previous episodes that we're gonna put down in the description below. You know, our second episode, which talks about websites and photography, and it touches upon what we talked about before. So I feel if you guys want to look into it, be sure to do so, and also click on the notification bell icon. You know, for more of our videos. Please like and subscribe. Please comment in the section down below, and have a good day, everyone. This is the Hospitality Chat podcast. My name is Mehdi Rahman, and my friend here and host and co-host, Matthew Drummond-Poynter. I think I need to get the host and co-host part done properly. But
Co-host host.
co-host host. And I'll say thank you and goodbye.